Hey, 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 welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Want to make sure that microphone is working nicely. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can see a lot of heads up nice and early. It is Drive Time, meaning it's your time. If you want to get involved in the conversation, jump on in. The water is warm. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula. Of course, with me is the. I got a frog in my throat. Excuse me. It's early. Along with me, of course, is the trusted one over there, Sleepy J on the ones and twos. What's up, Sleeps?
It's going.
What's going on? Where are we at? What stage are we? Still at coffee phase? Are we?
It's Mountain Dew already.
You're already in the Mountain Dew phase. Sac passe. You can hear she's coming on in. 8 o'clock shift. It's starting here, so it's many things to wake up to. Sac passe. Good to see you. We're out of coffee. We have coffee from Mom, but not from me. Just so you know. This is right here. I'm like, it's like the golden chalice right now. Oh, that last cup of coffee. Y'all know what you're doing when you got to ration it. You take your time on it. You sip it. It's much more precious. Anyways.
At least your mom got her coffee.
What's that?
At least your mom got some coffee.
She got decaf, but you know what I'm saying? And she has like 1 to 2 cup. Her coffee lasts for a while. I put the IV right into my veins when it comes to coffee. You all know I love coffee. I'm a coffee snob. Lady Alex, Stacy, good morning. Fred, good morning. Naybones, good morning. Of course, I've already touched base with Gabrielle Freedom. It's good to see you. Who's in the Rumble? Is Entenmann Bill up over there? I mean, I don't know what's going on in Rumble. You can watch Rise Up, right? Rise Up is the is like the Christian whatever they got going on. I don't see Entenmann Bill in there. Oh, he'll probably stick his head out sooner or later. I see Gabrielle and Fred. Naybones, of course, too, as well. Welcome to the show, guys. I want to make fun of them. Like, look, I've been going on this hardcore thing lately, obviously, because it's like the same playbook, right, Sleepy? When after 9/11, all the hype and all the chitter-chatter about being a pro-Christian, being anti-Muslim, they were just, thank you so much, lady. I like that shirt, one of my favorite shirts. I think it's Fred's favorite shirt. But all the talk of being anti-Muslim and pro-Christian, actually thinking that there's when I went to the James Fishback, event, she said, obviously there's a religious war going on. Like, no, there's not. No, there's
obviously not. What the fuck?
Obviously,
what's obvious? Where's the crusade going on? Where's the crusade going?
In America, we have a religious war going on. No, there's religious wars going on in other countries because we're funding the radicals to fight those religious wars.
Syria. I guess Syria. Oh, wait,
Josh. I don't know, Sleepy J. Well, that's a good place to start.
Come on, Jelani. He's a stand-up guy. He's never beheaded any of our people.
And they just took him off the state sponsor of terrorist list.
Correct.
He's
an attractive guy. He's an attractive guy. That's what Trump said.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. He's got a rough past, Sleepy. Rough past.
That's what it was. Rough past.
Rough past. But now he's working for us, so we make him the boss.
To be fair, he was always working for us. It's ISIS, man.
Yeah.
Who the hell funded him? Certainly was us.
I can't believe Russia acknowledged him. That was heartbreaking.
Dude, what the hell's going on with Ratcliffe going to meet with Russians, man? That's a little troublesome.
Who knows with this guy,
I mean, the CIA lands in Russia. That's never good.
So the thing that's out there today, right? So now the big play that's happening for all you people out there who watch the news, the mainstream media. I nurse my coffee, pun intended. I can need a nurse right now, Lady Alex. I need a nurse. Doctor, he needs more coffee. Quickly, get it to him. You know, eep.
Code red or code blue or whatever the fuck.
Coffee. Pump it into him. I'm gonna need that.
Oh, we've got an Entenmann Bill in the house.
Entenmann Bill sighting. Hey, get your crumb cake. You know, the classic is the coffee crumb cake, right? Like a lot of people like that. Good. Entenmann's wise, but I always love the Entenmann. It's their version of a cheesecake. It's a cheese Danish, like it's got cream cheese and then like
those are good.
Like glossy, sugary Danish. Just you know.
I like the little
calories like per smell.
I like the little ones with like the fruit in the middle, like the little bit of
fruit pies. The old school fruit pies.
No, it's like a flaky kind of pastry thing, but it's got like a circle in the middle with like jam.
Yeah. Raspberry and apricot,
peach. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
the Entenmann ones are bomb.
Entenmann Bill. Bill knows he's got the Sanka on the table. Back to the Iran war, because that's how it is. Like you can have these conversations, and meanwhile, our tax dollars are going to bomb women and children. Still happen on a regular basis. Still going on Gaza. Every single bomb dropped in Gaza comes from the United States. Something to keep in mind, even though it's the Israelis that are dropping them. Whatever the case, we work together hand in hand. This isn't about one country zooming another. This is about oligarchs using the states to get what they want. The technocrats increasing their power. The fourth industrial revolution is here. Somebody was mentioning that, isn't it kind of odd, Sleepy, that Elon Musk hasn't mentioned or talked about flock cameras? Of course he hasn't. You know how much money he stands to make off that? All the data mining that's involved, whatever product
it's coming
they want to use.
I don't know. They're just going to hide the cameras.
What's that?
Real. I said it doesn't matter. They're just going to end up hiding the cameras so we don't know where they're at.
Yeah. Well, that's what's coming. The axe. But that's what I'm saying. Like right now, while these flock cameras are in sight and you can see them, we should be pushing for legislation, even though obviously they don't live up to the market. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you love her. Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski has fed the ducks and made it to the set.
Well, I don't know.
So I was just about to get started, and I'm going to hand it off to you and let you go do your thing. I didn't watch your episode from the judge yesterday. Really quickly, what'd you talk about?
He liked that article I wrote Monday, or got up on Monday, about the cost of genocide. Genocide is more expensive than you think, or who knew genocide was so expensive? Really from an Israeli perspective, because I had read an article in Haaretz over the weekend where they were complaining, of course, that their budget's blown because of security issues, and they were talking about the cost of everything they've done in Gaza, which of course then it had some numbers, and I researched some other numbers, and they spent quite a bit of money, all for naught, really. I mean, and a lot of this is coming up as a part of the election campaign. It's not like they were complaining about the cost of genocide 2 years ago. It was high then. It's really because there's a couple guys challenging Netanyahu, so there's a political, it's like in our country too, when you have a political campaign, all of a sudden these issues that everybody was happy with become hot button issues for the election season. So that after they elect somebody, they can go back to the way it was afterwards.
And make no mistake about it too, as well. The reason why they can get away with this, Colonel, whether it be in Israel and their citizens, and over here in the United States and our citizens, is too many people endorse it. And I mean endorse it by not saying, go ahead and do it. They're not saying enough to stop it. Right. They're not picking up that phone and calling, getting in the ear of their constituent, right? Their representative, and letting them know, this is horse crap.
It's true.
This is doo-doo. What are you doing? Okaying a war, you need to vote against this. Go ahead, Colonel.
It's true, but this is why they keep us poor and preoccupied and exhausted with the multiple jobs that we have to do, and worrying about, if it's not ourselves, we're worrying about our kids or our friends. We're always worrying about something that, this is what they do. This is how this is how the majority is subjected by a very tiny minority who benefits from this. And it's so funny because my husband, I got up kind of late. I'm sorry about that. But I got up and
we'll
said,
talk about that after the show. I don't know how many push-ups you're going to make over the military.
Yeah.
Drop and give me 20, Colonel.
That's what I needed. I needed that. But he said, how come we don't? He said the Russians. He's reading something on the computer, and he said the Russians are using Iranian drones, North Korean something or other, and Chinese defense systems. And they don't cost very much, and they're using their cheap stuff against Ukraine, so that the Russian-made stuff that they've invested in, if it comes to a NATO war, they'll have that. And I said, why don't we do that? We used all our expensive stuff against Iran, and I'm like, that's all we have is expensive stuff because that's our system. Our system is to take taxpayer money and put it into very expensive small numbers of items that we then happily use up against the worst of enemies, the weakest of enemies, so that we can then ask for more. It's a system. And anyway, it's hard to fight that system, but it is failing. The system is failing. We have no defense in our country because of it, and we're broke. But yeah, it would be nice if we could call our congressman and tell them stuff. I'm lazy, so I add my congressman into various X tweets or whatever.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
Out to him if he's watching, but he's not watching, and his staff's watching, and all that. You know what they get from that? They get for that. Karen, watch out for her. Make sure you don't talk to Karen because she's mad. She's one of your unhappy constituents, kind of thing. Yeah. That's how it works. You can't. And then if you call him, they just. I know our congressman because he's been up there for a while now, and he's a person I've known for years, and he'll just glad hand you, and he'll look in the eye and say, "Oh, I agree. We have to do something about it. Why don't you do something?" No, we have to do, when enough people, in his view, as so many congressmen are, he's not really on the take so badly. Now, he could be bribed. He could not, I don't mean bribed. He could be being blackmailed. Everybody up there's a crook, and they're also weirdos. So I think they could be in a position where he's being blackmailed, but he's rich, so he doesn't need the money. I don't know if he's being bribed. However, his view of how you make change is when everybody in the Congress wants to do something, then I will sign on. I want to be a part of the majority in Congress. Well, the majority in Congress is the problem. And I'm not talking about a party. I'm talking about the majority of these losers that are up there who, are all, they have their things they support. I mean, there's still guys running for office this cycle that are saying, I'm running for office to ensure our government puts Israel first. That is still their platform, even after 3 years of genocide. So they're slow learners up in Congress. They're slow learners.
Well, they're also bought off too, as well. Yeah. And I think that, with that being said, since 2001, since 9/11, 2001, to quote Biggie Smalls, and Biggie Smalls was originally from Brooklyn, things done changed, right? Like things got serious. The security state sprung up, elections got tainted, wars broke out even faster than before. Things have really changed in the last 25 years. And right now, I mean, everything that our forefathers wrote, and I'm not an expert on the Constitution, Colonel, but everything that the forefathers wrote, like that whole thing, well, you're going to get a Republican now if you can only keep it, right? Like it required a citizenry that was aware and was going to hold their government accountable. And a lot of things, and George Carlin talks about it all the time. This will never get fixed. That's why they keep you majorly consumed. They teach you just enough to sweep the brooms, press the buttons, to get up and do it all over again. But what they don't want is a group of critical thinking people sitting around the table understanding who's screwing them over. We haven't done the work, right, as a society. And we're doing it right now. You're writing articles out there. And by the way, the news is now we're going to go for an economic war against Iran. But
that's funny. I mean,
where's this coming from? People should be laughing at this asshole at this point. Do we really believe that China's going to go along with this? The number one importer of oil comes from Iran. They're going to go, United States, we're going to stop importing oil from Iran and do it. I mean, where's this coming from?
Actually, Besant, he said, first Trump goes economic war. Then Besant goes, biggest economic war. We're going to do this thing. We're going to isolate Iran. And then 1 day later, not even 1 day later, he goes, oh, well, we're not really starting it right away. Okay, great. Yeah. And then the next day he goes, oh, no, but we're not doing it to Russia and China because we don't want to blow up the world economy. basically what he's saying is we don't even have the power to, it's all empty talk. It's empty talk. Now, wait a minute. It's not completely empty talk because there's going to be enough tariffs, and there's already enough tariffs globally. You know, Trump is tariff queen. You know, he is out of control with his tariffs, and his view is that this is how the economy works. This is how you he hates freedom. Trump really does hate freedom, unless it's his own freedom to stomp on people. He doesn't like the free market economy. He likes he likes it's who you know economy. That's what he likes. So if you're in bed with Trump, if you're good with Trump, Trump's your friend, you get good trade like Argentina. And you get bailed out too, like Argentina. And we get to buy their tainted meat like we're doing from Argentina. But if you're not Trump's friend, if you're not in bed with Trump, then you can be punished economically. And that's his view of the free market. I'm free to punish who I want to. That's not how it works. So Americans will suffer from what they're doing. This big isolation campaign, this big thing with supposedly
this is stage two,
will hurt American.
Right? Mm-hmm. This is a lot of it staged. Even the people who don't, there's still industry.
Staged.
All the crazy industries that even the ones that are not connected to Trump are still making a ton of money, right?
Well,
whether it be big pharma and their shots.
Oh yeah,
whether it be the military-industrial complex.
Friends of Trump have free trade.
He's invested not in the Flock, in the other one, the Axion, right? So now they're both going to make money. It's like, but please continue. I mean, I can't believe that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing great about Bessent taking Scott Bessent. That's his name, right? Scott Bessent, the treasury guy, taking the lead. It's really cool that he's doing it. Because now that we're seeing articles in mainstream media in the United States talking about where Bessent came from. So he is a Soros investor. He worked for the Soros Fund years ago, and he was not very good at it. Okay, now Soros used to be really rich. I know did the old man die yet? He's got his son in charge of his thing, George Soros. He's got Alexander Soros, his son.
Yeah, he's still alive though.
He's still alive, but he's kind of shifted gears, right? He's like gone in retirement. But the Soros Fund was pretty good size, right? It was a competitive global big time money machine. And so he hired Bessent to manage one of his funds years ago. And Bessent wasn't a young man. He wasn't a young boy. He was like in his 30s. And anyway, Bessent blew it. He blew it big time to the tune of several $1 billion losses. Okay, that's a lot of money. Several $1 billion. Like it's one thing for the government to piss away $2 billion in a minute. They can do it, and nobody's held accountable because it was for a good cause and the people voted, so it must be great. But when you have a private investment fund and you have to piss away, one of your guys, one of your managers that you hired because he was supposed to be so smart, so talented, so gifted, and he blows $2 billion in ruins a fund. I mean, a fund went down to basically zero. I mean, basically went bankrupt within a larger community of Soros funds. So it was the loser. It was the loser. And I always say Trump doesn't like losers, but actually that's not true. Trump loves losers if they kiss up to him. And this is Bessent. But anyway, this is an old story about Bessent. The more recent story is his work that he did for Epstein. Remember Epstein? Because we're not supposed to talk about Epstein because Epstein really isn't anything, and we're
getting the files in 24 hours.
Yeah. So
right after we end the Ukraine war.
That's right. But anyway, so Bessent's hooked up with a bunch of freaks. He's no good at money management, but no, Trump saw fit to make him the head of the Treasury. So right before he declared Trump's big what is it? Biggest economic war ever, isolation. And of course, economic war is war. Don't forget that. Congress didn't declare it. Congress didn't really want it. That's what you have. But right before he did this, I don't know, have you been following the Japanese yen at all? And the situation, Japanese stagflation has been going on for like almost my entire life. Since the 70s, early 80s, they've been in a stagflation. So they have no growth, but lots of inflation. That's the only thing that grows is inflation, basically stagflation. And it's an aging society, of course, and they use a lot of robotics and stuff. So it's not about like, our people don't have work. There are no people. The people that are there don't need to work because they're old and it's a weird thing. And they spent way too much money. A lot of it at the behest of the United States, a lot of it in terms of defense and things they buy from us in terms of military things. And it's not a bad little productive economic society, but they spend way more than they make. And they've been doing that for years. So anyway, they can't pay their debts, and the Japanese government, which is run by a friend of Mr. Trump, I guess, but she's Japanese first, thank God. And she said, we're going to have to dump some treasuries. Well, she didn't say it. She hinted at it because they can't pay their debts. And the only thing they hold a ton of our treasuries. They're going to dump them. And these were low interest treasuries. And then they'd have to buy more or whatever. Anyway, they didn't want to buy more. They said, we can't afford to buy more because when we sell these treasuries, we're going to pay some debt down. We got big problems domestically. We've got to do this. And so Besant said, no way in hell, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. So they said, we have to do that. We're sorry, Scott. Love you, man, but we got to do it. And so then Scott said, oh, don't worry. The treasury, those treasuries that Japan was going to buy, I, Mr. Besant, head of the United States Treasury, will take taxpayer dollars, treasury dollars. This is not the Fed. This is not the Fed easing, changing interest rates, making more electronic money available. No. This is Besant taking treasury funds, which come out of my pockets, through taxes and earnings and all this other stuff, and bought a bunch of those bonds. And then he said, we're going to first he said, we're just going to buy we're going to double what we buy. We're just going to double it. And then within 2 or 3 days, it was like, no, we're going to buy a shit ton. Because we have to, because if those treasuries are dumped, what happens when a lot of things are on the market? What happens when you go down to the Walmart and they've got, or the Food Lion or wherever, the giant food, and they've got a bunch of fruit that's pretty much getting close to expiration. Why they say, 2 for 1, 2 for 1, 3 for 1, bushel for 1, whatever. And you go get it because there's too much of it on the market. So price drops. Okay. That's very simple. So when you get these T-bills, we can't sell our T-bills as they are. People aren't interested in our bonds as they are. And that's partly because of the economy, partly because we're not producing, partly because we make war all the time, partly because Trump's president and he's unpredictable and nobody wants to take long-term risk with the United States. Get it? It's perfectly makes logical sense. So he uses our tax money to prevent the pain, prevent the reality wall that we're getting ready to hit in this country. And this, of course, all is in the same week. We went over 40 trillion in current debt. And so, it's one thing to say 38, 39, 30, 37, the number keeps going up and going up. But when it rolled over into 40 trillion, it's like a meme, it's like, 40 trillion.
That's in the couch cushions of the Pentagon, Colonel. I don't know what you're talking. You just move it around. You'll find that 40 trillion.
Let's dump it. Let's dump the Pentagon upside down and shake, because I don't think 40 trillion will come out. I think that money's already been extracted. But yeah, good idea. We need to do that, and along with a lot of other things that we're not doing, and we won't do with Trump as president, and we won't do with the next president, because the next president, like the one that like when Trump won in 2016, is running to say, I'm different than the last president, but they're really not. But we don't care.
You're all the same.
We want the guy that's different than the last president. So whoever the next president is, will run on a campaign. Trump messed up. He lied. I'm going to do this other stuff. We don't know he's lying because we're so desperate to hear words that we want to hear. We go, oh my God, let's get rid of Trump. We will get rid of Trump. And then we're getting another guy, and he won't do what he tells us either. So because he says, well, I shook the Pentagon and nothing came out. What am I going to do now? I got to continue. They have to wait till the system crashes down among them. And again, we've mentioned this before, but people need to really think about if their world changes in a drastic way. Simple stuff like if I have a 2-income family and one of us loses our job, these are things you want to think about. These are things you want to think about. What choices might we make? Would we move? Would we, walk through it mentally? Because the more we are mentally prepared, it's not even so much being financially prepared or anything else. It's about being mentally prepared wherever you are in life, that who can help me out. And, have you heard about this thing going on about encouraging people or saying it's all right? It's a post-COVID impact that they're trying to sustain. And it's when you cut your family off. It's when there's a word for it. Have you heard it? It's out there.
This has got to be in those leftist liberal circles that.
No.
It's in the conservative circles. Where is this?
It's in general. I don't know about hardcore conservatives, but they try to talk about it. When you choose to, I don't get along with my family members, so I'm just going to exit the family. I'm just going to say, what?
I'm going to type that up in ChatGPT.
The Scientologists call it disconnection.
Okay. You know what? It is disconnection, but I think there's a different word that they use. But it's when adults and other family members in your extended family just decide they're not talking to you anymore because we haven't gone to Thanksgiving anyway. We can't get along with them. they drive me nuts, or I disagree with them so badly because they're red and I'm blue, or they're blue and I'm red. So we're going to agree to separate. Well, that is the opposite of what you want to do when you want to think about how to be prepared when bad things happen. And this is something we can do. I mean, obviously, preparation happens all the time, but I just think our money is crap. I think our country's crap.
Family
I know
estrangement? No.
What is it?
That's not it.
It's kind of like estrangement, but it's a choice that you make. And so what they do, they frame it in a way that you, as a 35-year-old person, not talking to my parents, I've rejected my parents, I no longer talk to my parents. They are presenting this in social media, whatever. Yeah, it's like shunning. But they're presenting it as if this is a good choice that an adult makes in order to make their life better. And let me tell you, when you lose your job, when the money crashes, when war comes to our borders, whatever, the last thing you want to do is be alienated from your cousins and your parents and your brothers and your family, your extended family. That's the last thing you want to do. So you want to keep those. Well, and COVID was an attempt, a very successful attempt in some ways, to break up families, right? Grandma's in a home, grandpa's in a home. Oh no, they're going to die by themselves because you can't be a super spreader and go kill grandma or kill grandma's friends in the home and all yada, yada, yada. So it's a public service to avoid your relatives. It's public service to not frequent the local shops because they've been banned. You can go to Walmart because Walmart's anonymous, right? You can go to big box stores because they're anonymous. That's okay. You can use Amazon. Nobody knows. Well, Amazon, actually, you know who some people's best friends are? Is our freaking Amazon delivery guy. I swear to God. And you should have that. You should know those people. You should know your community. Anyway, I think there's a long trend. They want people isolated. It's working. And yet it's the first thing you want to fix. Do not be isolated.
Are you ready for our first caller?
Let's get to that first caller, by the way. Estrangement they're putting up there.
Sorry, I forgot to put the Q thing
Wednesday, of course, that means it's Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski time. Give us a call, 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. I call it Bernie Sanders Blackjack. We're talking all things empire and all things fall of the empire. Caller, who are you and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Joanna from Orlando.
You're up early today,
How
Joanna.
Yes. Well, I don't have a meeting first thing in the morning, so have some time to call in. I just wanted to say that I wholly disagree that when you coming from a place where my mother was wholly toxic and my father was wholly toxic, I don't think that my stepfather, not my real father, who I found more recently. You don't go no contact for no reason. And there's plenty of people who've had wonderful parents and they're not no contact with their family. But when you come from a family that is bringing you down, then it's not going to help to just have them around. That's just not it. And people don't go no contact for no reason.
No contact.
I love my mother.
I mean, I have experience with this too, Joanna. So I haven't spoken to my father in over 20 years. So I get it. I get it.
Like, I love my mother, but I wish she could love me the way I would love her. And it's just not going to happen. And it's better for me and my mental health and me and my family to make sure I stay away from that. So I don't, holidays when she comes around or whatever, I'm cordial, but it's you don't go no contact for no reason. That doesn't happen that way. It's not biologically, people don't just say, I'm going to just, it's the cool thing to do. No, it's because you have a family that is not helping you. And then you go out and you end up with the family that you make. I have plenty of friends and plenty of people in my life who is not the people that I grew up with that are around me to you create your community. Just because you don't have blood family members, that doesn't mean you don't have a community.
I'm so glad you said that, because it is so true. You have to create that community. But what I'm talking about with this no contact thing is it's being popularized as kind of a thing to do that you choose to do because you know what? It's much easier just to not talk to them than solve the problem. I get toxicity. I understand that. And having a replacement community or a better community, a community that you build a network of people, that's what everybody needs to do. For a lot of people, though, the family is that first community that you're in, and it may be rotten and you may need to leave it. You may need to not associate with it. But what I'm saying is from COVID era on, our country, and even before that, the government wants to atomize everybody. It benefits when we're disconnected from each other. And, from a red state perspective, we could say, oh, it's destroying the family. Or if you want to look back at the old senator from New York that wrote a book, got him in big trouble, did a study, he's a professor, and he wrote a study about what welfare system was doing to the effective economic worth to a family of the black male, or at least those that were on welfare. It devalued the black male in the family. And he said this was an attack on the black family. He was a Democrat, very liberal, quite liberal, stayed liberal, served in Congress for ages representing New York. And he took heat for that. Well, that's not true. That's not true. You're biased, you're racist, you're whatever. But our government wants us atomized because we're much easier to handle when we're atomized. We're much easier. If we don't have people, that community that Joanna is talking about that she's developed, that's a community that you bounce ideas off of, right? That's a community that says, hey, I'm seeing this. Are you seeing this? What are you seeing? What do you think about this? Am I off base here? Am I nuts? What? This is what you say to family. This is what you say to your community. The government doesn't want people cross-referencing or debating their first reaction. The government wants to make a reaction in you for whatever it is, fear usually, anger sometimes if they want you to go to war. And they want you not to question that emotion. They want you to act on that emotion because that's how they manage us. So any community, any family that you've got and build, that is one more weight that helps you react to the state when it's trying to manipulate you, which is really increasingly all the time. That's all I'm saying.
Let me jump in here. Joanna, what do you think the number one cause for arguments within the family mechanism is nowadays?
Lack of respect.
What do you think the number two argument is for family members nowadays that are having issues?
It's money.
Exactly. Bingo.
Lack of respect and money. It's a combination of both. And while I agree, yes, the government, wants to have control over us, and the one way to control us is with money. And then at the same time, you have companies out here that are not paying a living wage. And I wholly believe that if you're spending, I don't care if, I've always said this, if my job tells me that I'm taking out the trash all day, I'll take out the trash all day. That's what they want me to do. That's what they want me to do. But am I getting paid enough to live? That's the bottom line is, if you're spending 40 hours a week, you're lending your time to somebody else, you should be able to live. And there's just, we make excuses. Oh, well, small businesses can't do that, and this can't do that. Well, then maybe you can't have a small business. Maybe you need less employees. And the thing is that for the people that I know that have businesses, they will pay a living wage. They're not going to, they'll say, well, I can't expand yet because I can't yet pay somebody to make sure they can survive. Yeah. And it's really these big corporations that are paying, they're the ones with the most jobs, and they're paying they're not paying enough. Yeah. So, there's certainly companies out there that do, but when your requirements are minimum, the corporations are going to squeeze a dollar wherever they can and pay less. The dollar doesn't go as far today, and people don't have the money to survive. A lot of, they say, well, money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure does get rid of a lot of the issues that cause mental health issues. Like it does help a lot. You can, it's worse when you're depressed and broke than when you're depressed and rich.
The money.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
money helps to kind of sew up that lack of respect that seems to come into play when people are stressed out and they start looking to point fingers. But I hear where you're going, and I just want to kind of piggyback on that, because small business is another whole discussion. When you say maybe you shouldn't own a small business, but the issue is that the government, especially both parties, right, they promise that they're going to help out small businesses, and they create conditions in which they destroy them themselves. COVID was a great example in which we were talking about, why is this company essential and this company is not, right? It's because they want to get rid of those companies and those corporations that give out little money, right? They game the system and get the government to help them become monopolies and to suck up these other companies. So that's another discussion. But back to the whole financial issue, right? Which, creating the conditions. When I say consume, people are consumed in the United States. They're consumed not only with entertainment and all that other stuff, and they don't have to pay attention to what's going on around. They're consumed with just trying to pay bills. Mm-hmm. So the conditions created for this situation are one thing. And there was somebody in the chat who was mentioning something, and I have to agree with them and stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about the fact that you have toxic, narcissistic parents that for some reason are never going to give you a fair shot. You just find it better to say, listen, this is not working. One way or another, we're going to have to, make a happy divorce. I think it's better for my mental health to step out, whatnot. There's a bit of sensitivity out there. And we're talking about, like, the one thing I regret right now, and I think about all the time, is I have a mother who had a stroke. I think about all the times we've had fights, unnecessary fights, a lot of them about money. And I say to myself, geez, man, I wish I wouldn't have been so rough and so hard during those times. I wish I would have worked things out instead of saying, you know what, I'm just going to cut this off and walk away. I just think that with the government using the media and their assets, when they do these things, right, when they're telling you not to talk to your parent or your cousin or your aunt or your uncle because they took a vaccine, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going along with that. That's a problem within society, So what I'm trying to say is that I think that we do need a little bit more. First of all, especially when it came to our parents, I think a lot of people have to understand, and they're under so much pressure, thrown into society, got to go make money, got to go make a living. How are you going to do it there? There's no opportunities right now. Things seem so coming over the top, whatnot, so bearing on top of us, and it's rough. But here's the thing I always tell people out there, right? Like, look, I get it. Your parents are your parents, because they made that joke, right? Like, white people blame their parents on everything, right? Like, that's the whole thing. That's the MO for white people, right? This group of people blames that group of people. That group of people blames that group of people. But white people, they blame their parents, right? Like, it's a joke. It's funny, but it's sometimes true. They were never given us a roadmap, right? They were never given to them a book on how to raise us, whatnot. They more than likely they did the best they can. And so many times I see situations where it is ended, there is a shunning, there is a walked away, where maybe it could have been resolved. And if we were in a society that was economically fruitful, where, we can pay our rent, have food, go on vacations, relax and stuff like that, maybe there wouldn't be such short-lit fuses that are ready to be lit and can blow up, and we wouldn't have this tension. And what Colonel is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel Caring, is the government is using that device right now to further the divide and conquer tactic, because that's what they want more than anything, right?
Yes.
You got to keep us fighting with each other. If you keep the people fighting with each other, then we, the oligarchs, the ruling class, can grab all the resources, run off them with all the money. We can screw them, and they won't pay attention to it because they're too busy fighting with each other. So what I think the Colonel is talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel, is that the government and those social engineers are taking advantage of this crisis, of these times, to propagate war, to cause war in the household, and more than anything, keep the situation divide and conquer like always. Go ahead, Colonel.
No, I think that's it. And we look at other countries that, and it's obviously smaller countries, or where you have a lot of people who are feeling the same economic pain, and they fill the streets. And I always like to think of the farmers in France. They fill the streets with their tractors and loaders and wagons full of poop, and they drive manure, and they from their farms, and they drive into Paris, and they dump it there. because they together as farmers feel they're getting a bad break and they're together. Now, all these farmers are also, you have to realize, competitors with each other, right? They're farmers who are in a world of agriculture where they are not guaranteed customers. You know, they have to play games and they have to deal with the state themselves individually. And I'm sure they're all jockeying for economic position. They are in competition with each other, but they are united when they think about the bad break they're getting, the bad treatment they're getting. They're not happy with it. You also had the Yellow Jacket, which was the Yellow Jackets in France, where people were pushing back, and I can't remember what it was, but it was a political thing. But it was very, very large, and people were in the streets. And this frightens government, and our government will do absolutely anything to prevent that from happening in the United States. And, you know, we have major cities. I'm not saying we're not a big old country and, you know, out west it'd be hard to get a handful of people together to protest, but we have major metropolitan areas that could produce major people in the street protesting this or that. And the government doesn't want it. They are frightened of it. This is why ICE is armed. This is why we increasingly hear the president wants to use the military for arrests, you know, and violate posse comitatus, wants to be able to control things before they get out of hand. This is what the government fears. And what is it that causes people to come together for any purpose? I don't care if it's food, health, or market freedom, or they're mad about the flock cameras or whatever it is, you know, it's people talking. And who do we talk with first? Usually it's family, extended family, and then they got friends, and that's then the community, that's the network. It just usually starts with the family. So what better way to let's encourage people to walk away from their families over things that in other eras we might have found a way to deal with. And I'm not saying, you know, toxic parents, need to stay away from them for sure. As with any toxic people, there are toxic people, there's no doubt. But you know, there's also something called learning how to get along with all kinds of people who disagree with you on X, Y, and Z, but actually are good on A, B, and Y, whatever, A, B, and F, who knows? And you kind of, you know, our communication skills, and this is also, you know, Pasha, you mentioned like the online gambling, the entertainment all the time. What is television and movies? Okay, except for advertising, where they ask you to choose your advertisement and probably track what you're drinking and eating while you're watching television. It is a one-way thing. You're sitting there passively in your chair or wherever, you know, listening. You're watching and you're listening. You're taking in this entertainment. You're taking these stories that have been created for you in Hollywood or elsewhere, and you're absorbing that. You're passive. Or maybe I'm not so passive because I'm gambling. I'm doing sports gambling. I'm doing all this. You know, I'm playing on the computer games all day long. I love that. That's. But what is it doing? It's preoccupying us. It's preventing us from developing skills of actually interacting with people that maybe we don't even like that much. And so the government. I'm not saying anybody has to do this with toxic family, but the government doesn't want you developing those skills. And most people start those skills with their families. In their families. Well, mom says this, dad says this. What's first thing kids do when parents get divorced? Well, I work mom this way and I work dad this way. Well, those are skills, for God's sake. Those are good skills to have, to understand that everybody's different. And if you want to reach people, you got to figure out what you need to do to reach them. And the government doesn't want us developing those skills because a community, a state, a country, you know, a nation, if we have skills like that, we become resistant to authoritarianism, which is what, to me, when I say
Joanna wants to jump in.
Yes,
go ahead, Joanna.
You know, you both said something that kind of put this into perspective for me. I mean, I come from a Puerto Rican family. My dad is Haitian. My real dad is Haitian, but I grew up Puerto Rican, and in a lot of the Spanish community, you know, and in a lot of Black communities as well, it's very the family is the most important thing, and there's no government that's going to tear that apart. The only thing that really tears that apart is when it's really gotten that bad, that you are forced to walk away. So it's like the government can say, like, even during COVID, oh, you can't meet with family. We were meeting. I mean, we kept our distance. We wore masks. We made sure we were safe. But that didn't mean I didn't go see my grandmother or didn't go see, you know, other family members. That did not stop. And I don't think that, you know, when it comes to just the community, the way Spanish people are, very, very family oriented, and there's nothing the government can say. But then, you know, a lot of white people that I know, they will, the goal is to get out of your house. It's like, I'm not going to be with my family anymore. I'm going to go and move across the country, and I'm going to do, so it's already a core goal. A lot of times, that's from what I've seen, to leave. So then having an extra step of the government pushing it would give an excuse and say, okay, well, now it's an extra excuse for me to go ahead and tear that relationship apart. So when I'm saying people don't just walk away like that, and of course it's not for everybody. Of course, there's Spanish people who do just walk away and whatever, and there's also white people who are very family oriented. It happens all of it, but the culture of it as a whole, I could see how the government saying those things would affect the white community even more than it's not like the way a lot of Spanish and Black families are. There's nothing the government can say to tear them apart when you're in a healthy relationship. When you have a healthy relationship with your family, the government can say you can't see them. Okay, yeah, sure. Whatever, like, force me.
Like, oh my God, Reed, stay at the door. Just leave it at the door, Reed. You can't come in. We got to stay 6 feet right now. Leave it at the door. And, the Latino family's like, I wasn't going to go over. It's COVID, but I made this whole tray of rocas con dulas. I can't eat this by myself. We'll sneak on in, But that's the way it was. And the government, they leaned on this. They took advantage of the situation. We're going to give you the last 30 seconds because we do have, unless, Colonel, I'm sorry, did you have something you want to respond back to?
I think that's a great
opportunity. Or can I give her the floor?
No, I think that's a great, what she's saying is absolutely true. And I do think, the whole white thing, like, I don't feel like, race, but white people don't, it's absolutely true what you're saying. I know a lot of the kids that I grew up with, and it was a pretty white area in Appalachia, they just wanted to get out, and then there were some that stayed, but a lot of them just wanted to move far away, and that's what they did. And, thank God we have phone, and internet later, we didn't we weren't rejecting our family, but there is a normality that's accepted that your family's not going to stay close. And so I may be more sensitive to it. So when I hear walk away, I'm like, what do you mean walk away? I don't want to do that. That's not right.
The government putting their extra 2 cents into the thing really didn't help out the situation, because they obviously, the goal for me, what I saw is they wanted to break up families, right? So. COVID was a thing where they got people to quarantine into their own homes without even putting a tank on the street. The queue is loading up, so we're going to pass it on and give Joanna the last 30 seconds. Joanna, let me tell you this reason why Latino people stood together and Italian people stood together. It's because the moms and the dads could cook, right? They could cook. Food, culture, man. I had a fight. Mom, I want to go, but you got lasagna in the oven. I don't think it's... But she made it with that spicy meatball and the bolognese. Let's just make up and talk this out. Joanna, last 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes, it's all about that Sunday dinner. And at the end of the day, when people are sick, especially, that's when you get the out of town food. That's when the good stuff starts coming out. So of course we're gonna go ahead and and get together regardless. But yeah, I think it's really it's a culture thing on how much, when it comes to separating from your families, I think there's a big culture behind it, whether you do or don't. And from how my experience has been personally, and then the people that I've encountered throughout my life, there's families that there's nothing you can do to break them apart, and then there's others that are so fragile, and others that are just like, you know what, this is just better. It's better to walk away and leave whatever's happening, because you just don't vibe. I think that we are all, and personally, I'm not religious at all. I am an atheist, but I do think that we all have energies and we vibe. And when you find people you vibe with, sometimes you vibe differently from your family, and that's okay. When you find the people you vibe with, that's your community, and that's who you end up keeping around you. And I think it's okay for people to vibe differently. We're all on different wavelengths, and that's okay. And sometimes you can create beautiful music and different type of wavelengths, but sometimes it's just those vibes just don't mesh, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay too. So that's it.
Joanna, we want to get to the queue. Thank you so much for calling in nice and early. I just want to let you know I will cook for you whenever you want. To build bridges, let's do it over some bolognese, and I appreciate you calling in. I really do.
Yes. Thank you. Bye, Colonel. Bye, Pasta.
Bye.
Bye, Sleepy.
This is the story. We're
Bye.
gonna get to the next caller, but this is the story we heard over and over again.
Yeah.
Right now, this story right here was push. It was necessary, or what? It was unnecessary. I mean, whatever you want to. It was possible because of what the government did, and the fear they created, and telling people that no, you can't go around them. So now somebody who refuses to take a what is it called? An experiment, right? Let's be honest right now. It was emergency use authorizations. They know what was going on. They shot up a few fucking rodents and they said, okay, take this thing. And somebody going, I don't want to do this. Now she's faced, and I heard this story over and over and over again. This same story right here. Don't tell me that the government didn't have a plan on this. Don't tell me that they're trying to keep us separated. Remember with COVID too, Karen, you couldn't even go out of the house to go talk with other people, right? You couldn't meet it. You couldn't commiserate. Go ahead and we'll take
my family. My family hasn't talked to me in 4 years.
I mean, come on. This is a common story now. And
it is.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The biggest difference between Latin America and the United States, nursing homes. There's no nursing homes down here. Why are they? Well, it's the economics and stuff. No, there's a will out there, right? Not to just
take care of people. Take care of their families, man.
Pass my parents away and move on.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, I took care of my grandma until she had to go. She broke her hip and had to go into a home during COVID, and I couldn't get her back. But she was at home until the last, year of her life. Like, don't put people in homes; it just makes them die quick. It's gross.
Yeah, and I say the economic aspect of that is, but the way our healthcare system works, that's a huge tough issue. Like, healthcare doesn't work. Well, it actually does work. The healthcare system takes literally billions and billions and billions of dollars, even $1 trillion a year, and it pays nursing homes. It funds all these things that we're saying that are not good for the family, but those things are funded. What's not funded, okay, is what we know that's not funded. Somebody needs help on a day-to-day basis. Somebody needs, somebody has a broken leg, don't want to go bankrupt to get it set. Then, it doesn't work then. But, insurance companies make out these homes. In fact, one of the things that really ticked me off about Trump, and this actually happened both terms, both his first term and his second term, he pardoned Medicare and nursing homes, some in Florida. One of them was a big guy in Florida, defrauded the government, defrauded Medicare. And the other guy owned nursing homes across the country, just literally billions of dollars of fraud and no competition, deals that he made, enriching himself to. So guess what? You can't fill nursing homes unless you have an attitude that says, oh, this is great. Let's put Grammy and Grandpa in a nursing home because nobody wants to deal with them and they're a little bit of a pain. Nobody, that's going to cramp my style. So let's shove them in a nursing home. Well, guess what? There's a reason government wants that, and the big pharma wants that. And also, too, I don't know if anybody's seen these ads for this. There's an ad on TV. I see it frequently. It's a nationwide company, I guess, that specializes in healthcare for old people. And they interview these old people and go, oh, I really love this company because they listen to me. And all these people are talking about is all the drugs they need. So this guy says, yeah, they listen to me and all this stuff. And then if I need new drugs, they give me new drugs. So basically, what is that? That's marketing, man. That is just that's a system that is not about health. It's not about extending life. It is about selling stuff. And that part of American healthcare is quite well funded. Okay.
It's a predator class system.
Yeah.
And Luigi's family, Luigi Mangione, right? His family invested in nursing homes. He saw this shit up close and personal.
Is that right? Yeah. He had his family was he was
invested in nursing homes, and he's seen. There's more to his story that still hasn't come out. And a lot of people, my cousin and I love my cousin, but we got into a fight the other day about this stuff because she feels that me like saying free Luigi is bad. And once again, I didn't make a phone call. I didn't tell Luigi to do his thing. In fact,
we
if
got a
Luigi called
caller.
me, I'd try to talk him out of it. But people are going to have to expect, when you have a predatory system and you have a certain class that is profiting off the death and destruction off the lower classes, somebody's going to speak up.
That's
And
right.
and Luigi spoke up with a gun. Do we still have a caller there, or is he?
Yeah, that I've been trying to get you to like bring
I
him
know,
in.
I know. We love to talk here at this show. It's drive time in the morning, guys. Give us a call, 561-247-2721. We have another caller. We're here with Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski. Caller, who are you and where are you calling from?
It's Albuquerque Alex.
You know what? I was going to put you on
Hello.
notice if you didn't call in today. I was going to say, Lady Stacy, Lady Alex,
So
we
it's on
need
a
to call in
Wednesday.
today, okay? We didn't hear from you yesterday. We need to hear from you today. Welcome to the show, lady.
It's funny how it's always on a Wednesday with Karen, because we're
Woman
simpatico. Being I was a Fed, I worked for the VA, so we have a lot in common. You know, we understand the Fed stuff a little bit more than others, unfortunately. But we're all over the place, which is usually what happens, because I have a list. I have this kind of list that doesn't exist really. It's like if I look into space, there's a list with a check off of like thousands of things that are horrible about our society and world, you know, check, check, check. And, you know, I stand back and I think, wow, I've been talking about these subjects since 1972, you know, if I think about everything we're discussing now, you know, and I'm thinking, damn it, this is just horrible, you know, this is sad, and this is anger, you know, maddening. And it's hard not to feel, and my feeling of being a realist, that nothing is going to change, nothing's going to get better. We're not going to have a revolution. You know, we're not going to all don yellow vests and come together and have an egalitarian society soon. I feel that the history of this country, and I say it simplistically, but the hundreds and hundreds of years of white supremacy, militarism, genocide, slavery, it's all manifested in what is happening today. I think this whole thing of propaganda and we're brainwashed is we're not giving enough merit to the responsibility of people who make their own decisions and choices of how they feel, of how they think, of if and when they seek out truth. I do not blame propaganda, and I do not say we are brainwashed. I think we have a choice to seek out the truth, and if we don't, we don't. And I do not see the populace of this nation getting more and more aware and gaining insight and developing emotional intelligence and banding together to create a better world. That is not going to come to pass. I'm sorry. And kvetching and complaining about it ad nauseum, and that's all I can do, and that's all we do, and it's important to share, but I do not see the world or our society the way that we want it to be. And because of that, I think that the best thing that we can do is help each other communally, pool our resources, help each other. But, you know, we're suffering so much now, and things are getting so bad, we're caught and stuck. So it's like we're you know, it's a very difficult situation. But to be in a dream state of let's all kumbaya and live as one is not realistic. It ain't gonna happen. All right. Sorry, folks. You know.
Well, I love what you're saying, and I'm gonna tell you something. What I take from that is, you know, we're not all gonna band together and make a better world together, because centralization of power and centralization of humanity doesn't work. But what does work is exactly what you said at the end, and that is decentralization. I'm going to band together with the people around me. I'm going to do the stuff that I can do, that I can control. And power, points of power, energy, all these things are going to be decentralized. And we're not going to have this mass agreement. You know, there's not going to be, you know, one of the things that a lot of people are like, well, if everybody just agreed with me, it'll be great. No, that's never going to happen. You're absolutely right. It's not going to happen. And government wants us to agree that government is in charge, the state, whether it's the king or the emperor or the president that got elected, you know, whatever. they want us to band together behind them, united, right? What's the worst thing that Trump calls people when they make him angry? And other presidents do the same thing, just not as grossly. He calls them what does he call them? A traitor. He calls them a traitor.
Marjorie Trader Green.
Trader Green. That's so good. He calls them traitors because they are traitors to this idea of centralized unity, the Borg. Okay, and I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, but one of the best
I am.
examples but one of the best examples of what our government is, and this is even global government, if you want to think that there's some global interests that kind of tie major governments together and choose the wars and all this other stuff. But it's this idea of a Borg where you are subsumed into it. Or if you're a Matrix fan, the same thing. People subsumed into a centralized control system for that uses people for what they can offer, energy in that case, biological energy, or whatever. But decentralization is the answer. And I have to say, I disagree with you. I don't look up into space and see a massive list of all the stuff that's wrong, because I would probably have to shoot myself if I did. So I don't do that. I don't do that. That's too
why
much.
People take drugs.
Yeah. But the decentralization is what we need to think about. And the government does the only decentralization they like is if they can break up the family and destroy our networks. If they can, in fact, this is a little bit unrelated, but you know how the FBI is constantly doing plots where they take kids that don't have, maybe they're a little bit slightly below average in intelligence or something else, or they have emotional issues, they don't have any friends, and they take these kids and they say, hey, we should do this, we should do that, we should do this, oh, we should bomb something, oh, here's some bombs, and they give them the bombs. And they did this in New York. That group of kids in New York, or adults that they got, they had to throw that case out pretty much, because it turned out the only people advocating violence and the only people gathering up weapons and the only people doing anything were the FBI plants. But think about what that does to a community when we know that the government will put, its people in and act like they're part of us, and encourage us. It builds distrust, and that's exactly
one of hundreds of things that this system is doing. But
right.
Karen, what I'm saying is,
they don't want us to come together locally. They don't want us to come together as communities. They absolutely don't want that. So the simple answer is that whatever government doesn't want us to do, this is what we should do. This is where the answer lies.
But and it's part of educating ourselves about our history of, like I said, violence, genocide, white supremacy, slavery. This is the core of, this is not just the United States, this is Europe. There's a lot of history that is,
it's colonialism.
As far as colonialism and slavery and genocide, but us in particular, it's important to know our history and where we come from and who we are and how it's affecting us. But then again, knowing that is good, because awareness of the truth and information is good. But this whole thing of the government and centralization and capitalism, that is reality. It's affecting us. But unfortunately, we are not, like I said before, we're not going to have a come together moment where the majority of us rebel because we want an egalitarian society. And knowing that is not going to come to pass, what do we do in the meantime? What do we do? We're suffering. This is going on, and it's going to continue. And that's a reality in my estimation. So what are we going to do? Like I said before, the only thing we can do is go and look to the right, look to the left, do what we can to help each other. Meanwhile, we're suffering, a lot of us, some more than others. This is our reality. And I'm not saying let's give up, let's lay down. But at the same time, we must be realistic and not live in this dream state of, Trump will only leave office. This whole thing of, and also one more thing about focusing on individuals like MTG and Mamdani and Trump and Besant and all these ghouls. They will, Trump is just a more disgusting front man for the people that are the oppressors. Come 2028, there'll be another one. And it's just a perpetuation of the same shit. And it's going to keep perpetuating itself. And all of us are Trump this and Trump that. Yes, he'll be gone. And it's going to keep going and going and going. So I must say, this whole Trump TDS is not just the shit libs people. It's a lot of other people that should know better than to keep harping on this man and look at the core issues and just, accept our reality. Not to say that, let's not, it's just
in the same way that.
Go ahead, Sleepy.
Well, in the same way that I think we as a country have kind of been conditioned to, we always want a hero. We also want a villain. Like, we need someone to blame for our problems. And I'm not an all or nothing kind of guy. Like, I do agree with Alex on, I'm a pretty cynical guy in that regard. But I think there are things we can do to like build our communities locally and stuff like that I think is worth doing. So I'm torn
that's
on
all
this.
We can do, Sleepy.
Yeah, and that's so I get it.
Being a realist is okay. It doesn't mean you're a nihilist or pessimistic or negative. That's what a lot of people say to me. Oh, there's hope, and you're just bringing everyone down. I don't think I've been protesting since I was 11, 1960, 70, whatever. Protesting is not, everyone says, well, what's your solution, Alex? You keep saying protesting isn't going to do anything, and writing letter emails to your representatives isn't doing. No, it's not. Has racism been eradicated since 2020 with George Floyd? No. We're out there with pro-Palestinian protests. Is that going to change? No. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but to think that is going to change the world and change anything, it's not. And there are dreams and fantasies about solutions, and we know what needs to be done, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. So what do we do despite that? All we can do is what we do on a one-to-one level or, a block level or, what else can we do, unfortunately, right?
Lady Alex, let's let I got a lot of things to say, but sometimes in my show, I can just sit back, kick back, and let the people out there say what they got to say. Colonel, you were wanting to say something. Do you want to respond to me since you are the co-host of the day? I don't want you to wait till next week to tell us the solutions out there to fix these things.
This is how I look at it, because I live out in the country. My neighbor has a humongous pile of goat and horse poop and hay. And I mean, by humongous, I mean it's like 15 feet high. And it's all mine, okay? Because I have a garden, and she's continued to dump this poop there. And she says, it's yours. And it's a big problem because I can't get to it. But you know what big piles of shit do over time? I think we all know what they do. They decompose, okay? They break down, and they break down into something that's actually usable, generally compost. And I'm going to use that compost, okay? And this is the way that I see some of these big state problems. And I do blame the state, and I do blame centralized control, and I do blame colonialism, neocolonialism. You say it's racism. I say it's greed. Okay, I say it's people saying I can run roughshod over these people because I've got the power to do it. So these problems are a big pile of shit. They are, and it is insurmountable. And there's nothing I can do with it right now. But it's decomposing by the minute. And you know how it's decomposing? Microorganisms inside of the pile that I can't see. Okay, so things that can't last forever don't. And my solution, my optimistic solution is, let us look at the state and some of these problems. And you want to call it capitalism. I call it crony state capitalism. That's what I call it, corporatism. I don't call it capitalism, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's the same pile of shit. Okay. Then it's breaking down all the time. So why can't we look at that? Yeah, that's a big problem. But you know what? We're not the only ones fighting it. We don't have to organize and write letters to Congress to fight that. There is a zillion, a Google of microorganisms inside of that destructive pile, heating up, breaking it down, destroying it. No empires last. They always fail. And we're an empire. And we were an empire when we were moving westward and conducting these genocides. The people that in Albuquerque, the people you work with, the stories that you know, that's imperial. That's the result of empire. You can say, oh, it's racism. White people just want to kill black people and brown people. Well, I don't think that's true, because you and I don't. Pasta doesn't. Sleepy doesn't. We don't want to do that, okay? And we didn't do that. But what is it that we still have that motivates that? It is governmental systems that organize power and force for purposes of greed and possession. And this is exactly what's happening in genocide in Gaza. Same thing. South Lebanon, same thing. Okay, so you're going to say, well, Israelis are white people. Well, yeah, 80% of them are Europeans. Sure, they're white people, but they're also not entirely white. But Zionists are not all white people per se. It is a philosophy. Okay, so the philosophy is a problem, but it's also toxic. It decomposes over time, especially when it's piled up high. And this is why empires fail. So I'm very optimistic. Okay, what we need to do is see it that way.
I see. We need to see a movement in human consciousness at a mass scale. And
Say
that's what's going to take. That's what's going to take.
Start over from the beginning. Say that again, because what do we need to see?
We need to see a. We need to see a change. We need to see. What was I? Yeah, I come up with
consciousness.
We need to see a mass. Like a movement in human consciousness on a mass scale, and to me, that's what's going to take for there to be change for a better world. And
like the empire collapsing would certainly
and I love
that.
George, and I'll end with this George Carlin's cynical quote that yesterday's I'm paraphrasing it. Yesterday's idealists are now today's cynics. I'm cynical, but I used to be an idealist. Today's cynicists are yesterday's idealists. And for a reason. It's just very. I just stand back and I just say, my God, all these decades of talking about all these things and seeing the truth about what's going on. For me, it's very frustrating and exhausting, and that's why I am who I am, and I accept the way things are. Not that I agree with them, but I accept it, and I just try to do what I can and try to get involved in things locally and participate in actions, just as I said in the past, just because it's the right thing to do, but not because it's going to change the world, and commune with others. And the few times in the world that people have come to me and said, you know what you said really changed my perspective. Those are the 2 or 3 times in my life that I have was elated and beyond belief, so yes,
yeah,
that's a wonderful thing.
Can
anyway,
I say something?
Thank you guys. And what, Pasta?
Lady Alex. Yeah, well, I got to sit back and just listen in this segment right here, but I'm going to put a bow on it because we do have a couple callers in the queue, and I really do I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to reverse engineer this MOF. I mean, right, that you said there was this movement in human consciousness of sorts, right, that we need to have some type of maybe revolution or movement or change. And that was the question I wrote down. If I was going to put something up, I'm like, how do we get out of this grip from the oligarchy, right? And I do think that when we talk about white supremacy, we got to make sure that we also, I think where Lady Alex is coming from, because I think we understand, because we've been in circles that talk about this, Colonel. It's not that all white people are bad or whatever the case may be. It's just a system that the oligarchs have used where they've taken a portion of the populace and made them believe that they were more important than black people, right? And this is how they were able to pull off 40 acres and a mule. You get it, but they don't. It's their land, but now it's yours, So it's a system that has been used, and we see a lot of that present today with the way a lot of these Trump supporters are still supporting what ICE does, who are supporting throwing away due process, and not allowing immigrants to have their fair share in court, whatnot. We see this happening in front of us every single day, and that has come from the byproduct of, I think, white supremacy. But I don't want to get too deep into that too, because I do see some people in the chat going back and forth. And Bob from Atlantis, if you want to call in, it will be a great day.
Bye, y'all, and beautiful day in Berkey, and keep fighting.
Thank you so much, lady. We will keep fighting. But the thing I want to say too as well, and you can hang up, we'll grab the next call and get them ready, is that we also have to, from what I heard from Lady Alex, is that she's seen stuff out there and she's been able to process it and see it for what it is. And actually, that's what's made her get involved in groups and go to the streets, because she's not going to fool herself or kid herself on what's really happening. I don't know if I can blame a lot of the people out there, because I feel They have been propagandized for quite some time. From a little kid in school, we're propagandized. We're made to believe that the United States goes and fights wars for human decency and human rights, and we're like Captain America going around the globe, making sure that everything stays copacetic. That is just not the case, and we have to deprogram people. So the solution to everything that has been talked about is to keep doing what we're doing over here, having conversations, reaching across the aisle. The only reason why I identify myself as a leftist libertarian, because who cares about all these labels and stuff like that? But I want people who have traditionally had this mindset of team sports, whatnot, to know that not everybody who is not on their team is not crazy, that we can have conversations together, that we have a lot more in common than the assholes above us making the rules. And that's my say on that one. Let's get to the next caller.
Call back from Drive Time Show.
They're calling back.
Who is it? Where are you calling from?
It's not there yet.
Ah, damn.
All right, caller, where are you calling from? What's your name?
Oh, New Jersey.
What's your name?
Roger.
It's Roger from New Jersey.
From?
Correct.
Roger from New Jersey, Pasta.
New Jersey. What's up, Roger? How you doing?
Hey, guys. Excuse me. Speaking of large piles of decaying excrement, let me refer you to the 7 stages of imperial decline and see if you can draw any parallels with our current situation. First step is military overextension, maybe like 750 military bases in over 80 countries, could be. Currency debasement. Did you know that a 1964 quarter that was actually made out of silver is now worth over $14 today? Currency debasement. Debt spiral. I seem to recall something about a $40 trillion deficit and increasing. Loss of productive capacity. Quick story here in New Jersey. There used to be a Ford plant in northern New Jersey where my grandfather worked. Thanks to our lovely Democratic Party and the Republican Party, NAFTA came in, which was going to benefit all of us. That plant moved to Mexico along with a lot of good middle-class jobs. Also, that same house that my grandfather lived in, he bought that, I guess, in the late 50s, early 60s for $24,000. At the time, he was making $18,000 a year. That house recently sold for over $750,000 to a private equity firm who now put it back on the market for a rental of over $7,000 a month. That's just an aside. Loss of productive capacity, loss of reserve currency status. I'm thinking BRICS, social decay. You can kind of fill in your own examples there. And then finally, the end stage is collapse. And that's what's happened to everything from the Roman Empire to the British Empire to
Can I ask a question, though, Roger?
A country coming to you soon.
Roger, let me ask you a question, though. Really?
Go.
When the empire falls, who suffers? Because I don't think it's going to be the ruling class. I don't think it's going to be the elites. It seems like these same bloodlines, these same families are still running shit. It's like when an empire falls, they just pick up all their assets, they take all their monies, and they go hide out somewhere else for a while. And we, the people, are left, fighting for the scraps, right? It's always the little guy. When Rome fell, it was all the little people who suffered, right? All the elites, the aristocrats, they just picked up their shit and went somewhere else and kind of hung out. There's an old saying, the Roman Empire never really fell. It just picked up and moved to somewhere else for a little while. And a lot of people are saying the next thing. It's like the United States empire is technically not going to fail. The people will be left behind, but the elites, they're going to pick up their stuff and they're going to go over to China, right? And go over to Beijing now that they're becoming the superpower. So who really suffers when an empire falls, Roger?
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
But I will say, and I think on stage wise, we're in the fall. We're in the collapse stage. There's no doubt, and it's been going on for actually a little while because all of those 7 points have already been surpassed. You know, we got the 40 trillion in unpayable debt now, but when it was 20 trillion, it was still unpayable. So and it wasn't getting reduced. It was just getting faster and faster. So, you know, I think we're in the decline. But I will say this: when the big empires fall, and I guess little ones too, but most of them are big. But Roman Empire, prime example, you know, covered a lot of property, covered a lot of territory. As the empire got weaker and more panicked about currency, you know, destruction and all these things that are happening, wars, people that could survive and even thrive far, far from Rome, I think on the edges of empire, those guys didn't feel the collapse as seriously as those who were piling into those stadiums for bread and circuses when suddenly those bread and circuses ended. The people on the edge. So what you want to be is you want to be those people on the edge. You know, I can't speak to what the oligarchs do with all their money. You know, what is that company going to do with their $7,000 rent? Well, you know, I don't know. I think some of the people working for that company are going to be out of work. I do think that. Maybe the people at the top will do it. But people need to wake up and find out where they are relative to the worst impacts of the collapse of empire, which is ongoing right now. So where are you relative to? It's like, you know, when a ship sinks, and I don't know the physics of this, but when a big ship sinks and it goes under, some people say, well, you'll get sucked under because as it goes under, it's, you know, there's a force that sucks you under. So what do people want to do when their ship is sinking? They want to get far, far away from the ship. So when it goes down, it doesn't suck them under. I don't even know if that's physically, I don't know how that is, but it just seems like that's how people respond. And that's how we should respond to empire. We want to get far, far from the core center of gravity of this empire, which to me, you know, okay, small steps maybe, but don't go into the military. Don't go into the empire's military. Don't be a part of that system. Don't get a job working for that company that bought up the house and is charging $7,000 rent. And you go, oh, I'll be a rental manager. You know, I'll run the rentals for this BlackRock or whoever it is that owns it. Because that's a good job. And it might be a good job. It might be a really good job. But maybe that's not what you want to do. Or if you do it, you say, you know what, I'm doing this to set myself up to be able to jump ship rapidly. And I'm not saying rats off a sinking ship, but the empire is sinking and the survivors are the ones that don't sink with it. So we don't want to be close into these massive things that are being destroyed before our very eyes. And one of those massive things, of course, you mentioned is the money. It's the monetary system. So, you know, we all should be a little bit concerned about what's going on with the dollar. And, you know, when Trump, just as an example, I'm not using Trump, but he talks about, oh, the stock market's 50,000 or whatever it is. I don't even look at it anymore, but the stock market is up high. So that means things are great. Well, you know, when 2/3 of this is either military stuff or AI stuff that's underfunded and not producing cash returns, and everybody knows it, it's called bubbles, massive bubbles, then that 50,000 is meaningless. So do you want to be in the stock market? Well, unfortunately, you know, the retired class who has saved money and put it in the stock market and looks at those numbers, they think it's real money. Well, it's not. And that means you're close to the empire. When that ship sinks, those things are going to pop. So do you really want all your money in something that's going to be taken down with the ship? No, I don't. So I think what you do is and to be less harmed, because everybody's going to be harmed. There's no doubt. And the poor people are going to be harmed in many cases, the worst. But it's really those who are tied into the economy of empire, because that economy is ending. It is collapsing in real time as we're talking about it. So what you want to do is not be near that ship. You want to be on the fringes of empire. And in the Roman Empire, one of the signs that the empire was gone is all those guys at the end said, we're not Roman, we're whatever, we're German. Well, they didn't use German. We're Huns, you know.
Germanic.
We're Brits. We're somebody. We're not Romans anymore. But when Roman Empire was growing, everybody was so proud to be a Roman, so proud to be an American 100 years ago, so proud to be an American 70 years ago. Yeah. But for the last 70 years, we've been in slow decline, and it's accelerating. So let's be on the fringes of the empire, and if we're not, let's choose to move away from the sinking ship. And I think that's what that's what everybody has to do. And
actually, you should find a way to be less reliant on government, grow your own food, make your own bullets. I get it. But once again, I think we're in such a problem that until we change this power structure altogether, and we have to do something, because if we don't, we're going to surely die. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where Roger's on this. If Roger's labeling out all these
Roger,
things.
he's probably
because-
got a solution because he's
Has
setting
he
us
got
up.
a solution, Raj?
Yes.
Break it here on Drive Time. Go ahead,
Well,
Raj.
I'll tell you, we all have a choice, either passive dependence or independent self-reliance. And I think from what I'm seeing, we have a moral and ethical obligation to back away from the grid. The things, you know, when I used to get a paycheck, here's what they took out: federal income tax, Social Security tax, Medicare tax, state income tax, state disability unemployment tax, state family leave tax, sales tax, property tax. And this, you know, I wouldn't have so much of an issue if that money was taken and used for productive purposes to help people instead of killing people and providing material support for genocide. So, you know, what drags all these empires down is wrongdoing with zero accountability. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great call. And I think no matter what, you know, because listen, I get it that there's a duty, right? There's a responsibility to starve the system as much as you can. Don't buy into it if you can't. Be less reliant on government. I get it. But I don't care what you say. They make it so you have to be reliant on government. Nothing will change until the power structure changes. Roger, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
It's a great call.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Roger's a regular on my Wednesday drive time show on WBAI, which will be going on today at 4 p.m. Eastern. We have another caller right in the queue, so let's jump into it because I'm not staying over 15 minutes today, guys. I can't do it. Got a lot of stuff going on. Got a break right at 10. And we're going to do that with the show. If you didn't get a chance to call in, you come back the next day, right?
Yeah, I got no AC till we're done, and it's hotter than hell in here.
We're done at 10. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling in from?
This is Yona from West Virginia.
Where you been, Yona? Yee!
Woohoo! Hey, I love
There
you, Pasta. And shout out to the Colonel and Sleepy in the studio. It's good to talk to you all again.
What do you got for us today, Yona?
Well, I've really been listening very intently here to Alex and Roger and everyone else calling in, as well as the Colonel's very eloquent insights into the situation we find ourselves in. From my perspective, being Eastern Cherokee Nation member of the Great Cherokee Tribe, you know, I see a lot of similarities today with what's being done to the majority of the American population, very similar to what was happening to us in the immediate aftermath of Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act of 1830, with the destruction of food systems, the culling of herds, the further monopolization of the basics that we need to survive every day. And so I want to speak to Lieutenant Colonel's insight about the analogy she was using about the suction force of a sinking ship and you know, talking about the demise of the American empire. I think the reasons why the American empire is in such steep decline, in my opinion, would be with the undue Zionist influence in RFing our government. I say RF, short for the political term rat fucking, which is not a vulgarity. That's what Nixon did, breaking into the Democratic headquarters of the Watergate Hotel. So the best thing we can do is to get to know our neighbors and to get back to local power, local sovereignty, because I think what we're seeing is a complete loss of sovereignty when the Israelis, shout out to Corey Hughes, I hope he's doing well, when the Zionists are able to orchestrate assassinations and coups d'etats, including of the President of the United States, and then they can rub it in our face with Section 219 of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, that they're going to formally merge and assume command over our military service branches and our government. Well, honestly, I feel like that's a fait accompli. It's already happened. I mean, we can just look at the political action committees and the non-governmental organizations that the Zionist government of Israel uses to co-opt our government. You know, most notable of those, of course, would be the American Israel Political Action Committee, or APAC, as it were. But quite frankly, I find our political system entirely and completely broken. We get to cast fake votes on secret software that tabulates the votes on proprietary corporate voting machines. So we get to cast fake votes that can't be verified or audited for fake candidates who are owned by Israel to go to Washington to pretend to be our government when Rex 84 and COG established a permanent, unelected American government that's ensconced itself at the Mason-Dixon line at the Raven Rock Mountain complex. And so much of this is just, we're being lied to. And so I don't see there being a real conflict between the people and the government. I just see the government as a sinking ship, like the lieutenant colonel said. And I think the best that we can do, Pasta and Sleepy and everyone else in the audience, is to take care of our own house, get to know our own neighbors, and start working on parallel systems, just like we have at the Cherokee Reservation, so that we continue to survive and strive in the midst of a 500-year-old genocidal machine that has championed itself on bullshitting everyone. You know, at least in Spanish, they refer to the colonization of America as La Conquista, and they refer to the founders of our great democracy and shining city on a hill, they call them conquistadores, conquerors. And so, you know, I like the way Pasta puts this, that we've been bullshitted all our lives. I think it was when Pasta was at L.A. with Steve, when he said Americans are raised like mushrooms, we're kept in the dark, and we're fed shit all the time. But, you know, there is a real growing consciousness in this country. Shout out to Derek Bros. There really is a conscious resistance. Alex was correct. There does need to be a mass movement in human consciousness. And I think we're there, Pasta. People are noticing there's been a sea change in American public support for the Zionists and Israel, you know, due in large part to this live streaming of an ongoing genocide of the Gazans, as well as those Palestinians that are in Sheikh Jarrah and East Jerusalem and upon the western bank of the Jordan River. And
let's not forget Lebanon.
Colonialism mentality is quite the same in the United States. But whenever I speak about American settler colonialism, I immediately get pushed back. And the truth is, we need to start all punching up and no more punching sideways and no more punching down. Because, you know, for example, most people try to do good. Most people look out for their neighbors. Not everyone's perfect, but I think there's a lot more that we all agree upon than what divides us. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, probably the last thing I'll leave here, because I don't want to take up all the time. I know there's other callers, but, you know, again, forming our own communities, establishing our own parallel systems, because there's no fight to be had between the American people and this Zionist government that runs our country now. There's no fight to be had. Zionism is failing. Americanism is failing. And, I mean, we see this time and again with empire. And the truth is, most American people are loving, caring people and are fairly well informed. I'm obviously biased being an American myself, but I find myself often defending Americans because I do speak a number of foreign languages. I served in the U.S. Army as an Arabic translator. Assalamu alaikum. And so, when I watch news in foreign languages, all around the world, the entire earth is screaming for Americans to wake up. And we hear the call. Most Americans are waking up, and I think we're going to be fine. I'm actually optimistic because people are noticing. And particularly amongst the younger generations, younger than all of us here,
yeah, that's true.
They are figuring this stuff out, and they're not buying the lies. Some of these lies that we've been told are so stale and so old that, if you just work hard enough, you'll be able to own your own house. And the truth is...
Yeah, I've got an 18-year-old. They don't believe that shit no more. They just don't.
Right.
They don't.
Home ownership in the United States is down around 60% now compared to over 95% in China. And I thought the essence of the American dream was to own your own home and not have a landlord. And instead, BlackRock, which was mentioned earlier, they're now the single largest residential property owner in the entire United States of America. That's a real problem. The very foundation of the republic for which we all stand is private land ownership, private home ownership. And the truth is, with property taxes, even if you pay off your mortgage, even if you pay off everything, if you don't pay your property taxes, as a professional licensed land surveyor, I can tell you, they'll sell your house on the courthouse steps with a master commissioner's sale to satisfy the tax lien. Anyways, that's about all I got.
That's a lot, Yona. So that ain't all you got. And thank you for blessing us with your beautiful voice, your analogies, your ideologies. There's a few things I agree with. Most things I agree with, excuse me. A few things I don't. But I'm going to let the Colonel take her first crack at it and let her respond to what's going on. And Colonel, I'll just leave you with this as I hand it over. I like the fact that Yona mentioned Derek Bros, conscious resistance, talking about making parallel systems. I've been around people who talked about parallel systems, but I'm going to say this again. Okay, that's fine. But you can't just opt out of the system because they'll come looking for you. They're not going to let you thrive outside of their system. They will find a reason, an excuse to kill you. Nothing will really change until the power structure changes. And that's what we have to figure out more than anything. Colonel, your thoughts?
Yeah. You're absolutely correct, Pasta.
Yeah. That's the very thing I was picking up on too. Being on the fringes of empire in the Roman Empire times, but really parallel systems, parallel supportive networked economic systems that we have access to, that we're building in a decentralized way where we are, and growing independence. And here's the thing. Yeah. They're going to come. They're on the lookout for that, right? Those parallel systems are on the lookout. The government, the state, the authoritarians, whatever you want to call them, the neo-colonialists, they're on the lookout for that. And they do want to come and destroy them. But the problem is, if there's a bunch, look, this is the thing that Etienne de la Boétie in the 1500s wrote about. He says, how come a majority, how come 99% of the people are ruled by 1%, right? Or in our case, we have, 3 or 4 million government employees, federal level. And then we have 350 million. Yeah, so it's like less than 99%, but we're ruled by these dictates from the centralized authoritarians. And we're afraid of that, and they're going to come get us. But here's the thing. It wouldn't take too many parallel systems kind of mushrooming up. I hate to use the mushroom thing, but yes, mushrooming up around that. Guess what? They don't have the breadth to go after everybody. And when they do go after people, yeah, sure. Empires don't just go quietly into the night. They try to defend what they've stolen. They want to keep things the way they are. But when there's a lot of parallel systems, when we're not cowed by it, and of course the system is dying, it's composting before our very eyes. So it is not as strong. It looks strong, like ICE can come do stuff, but poorly trained guys in bulletproof vests and masks. I'm not scared of that. Okay. That's a sign right there that they are out of their element and they need to go back to Washington and huddle, because when they come out into the community, they go nutso like they did in Minneapolis, and they shoot people for no reason and behave badly. And guess what? Create more enemies, create more parallel systems, create more pushback. So I'm just saying, I do believe in the parallel systems. I think there should be many of them, massive numbers of them. They should be everywhere. And yes, the government will try to stop it, but they can't stop it all, because guess what? We the people, I don't care what people they are, what part of the planet they live on, are always stronger than those who presume to govern them. Always. And it doesn't even matter if they own all the houses. What BlackRock's what is BlackRock going to do when it comes time to sell all those houses that they own, which is something like 40% of all the houses in the country? They're not going to sell them all at the same time. Now, they may have to. And when they do it, the price will immediately drop way down to what it should be, not this inflated thing. Right. So they're also slaves to their own colonial practices. They can't get out of where they are. BlackRock owns all these houses. How do they get rid of them? Well, we need a 10-year plan to dump these houses. They're not going to get a 10-year plan because we're not going to allow them a 10-year plan to dump those houses. The parallel systems around are going to, you look. And the thing was saying with tax revolts, if one guy doesn't pay his taxes, they absolutely will take that property, unless it's a piece of crap property. Because around here, they got friends own property they don't pay taxes on, friends of government, and they'll never sell them, but they will sell the ones they think they can make money off of after only 2 years of, non-payment of taxes, right? They have a system that's not really fair on how they get rid of the houses. But let's say a whole swath of people, 50% of the people, let's say 30% of the people, simultaneously don't pay their taxes because they can't. Let's say they can't. Let's say they're not trying to make a point. They just can't. Okay. They can't. They're not going to sell those houses on the courthouse at one time. They need a 10 or 15 year drawdown plan so they can make their quote unquote profit from this. So anyway, we have tons of power. The people have tons of power. Resistors, the people who resist have the odds are with us, not with the government. I'm just saying.
That's correct. And what I would have thought was unimaginable just a few years ago has now already happened. And I would like to think that our side is winning simply because people are no longer self-policing themselves and holding their tongue. And more people every day are noticing what's actually going on, because so many things that were said in quiet before are now actually being said out in public. And so, the truth is, with all due respect to my friends around the world that don't speak English as a first language, there are a lot of Americans here in this country that are intelligent and compassionate and sympathetic. And, there is a stereotypical rich American that will go overseas that gives everyone in this country a bad name. But the truth is, most of us are loving, caring, intelligent people, and we're going to come out on top. I feel like we already have the upper hand, and that's the reason why Israeli tech farms are tightening down the screws, installing more Flock and Axon and operating systems to suck up all that data and send it back to Tel Aviv, so that the Pentagon Signature Reduction Force, which works hand in hand with Unit 8200 of Mossad, can find the problem actors. Who's getting all these people to form a parallel society? We need to infiltrate their group like COINTELPRO.
They will be coming after us. Right now. They will be coming after us. And they're already doing it. They're suppressing us. They're starving us out, right? Like, look, I had a little bumping heads with some friend of mine, and I love this person. I love her. But I had to say, let's take a little time out, whatnot, too, because so down on what's going on. There's a lot of us who are being censored. There's a lot of us who are being silenced. There's a lot of us they're starving out, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it. I'm doing a show right here, and I'm like, oh, whoa, we got 90 watchers. At one point I had, me and Fiorella, we had 5,000 people watching at one time. We had a video, Epstein and the Mossad family connections, almost 500,000 views. They get there and they go, shut them down. And also clip their financial wings. This is done on, there's a whole group of us. And that's what does give me hope. But I do want to leave us with this too as well, Yona. Let me say this much. And I know Exile Knights of the Malta Now, my friend over there, will agree with me. Don't get duped to think that Israel is at the top of this pyramid. They are wanting
Nope.
they are wanting to think this is this Babylonian death cult, right? Whatever it is. That's what I
right.
believe this is. This is from long ago. They're weaponizing Zionists right now. We have to look ourselves in the face as a nation. And you talked about, Karen, those people who make money, that fake money, right? But it is real money too, as well, off that stock market. Well, that stock market's tied into war and death, and that's why there's silence about it. Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, all the manufacturers that are not necessarily Zionists, they have Zionist ties, but it's the people here that are making money that are okay with death and destruction too, as well. There are accomplices walking together.
Right.
I think it's the imperialist and the anti-imperialist, and I don't want us to get duped on thinking that it's just a Zionist thing, that if we get rid of the Zionist, we fix the problem. No, we do not. No, we do not. We have to take care of this as a whole. All the weeds need to be rooted out, not just the Zionist weeds. All the weeds need to be rooted out. Yonah, thank you so much for calling in. I'll give you the last 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Richard Grove at Grand Theft World, who has done a great job on his show explaining how really Zionism is a British invention. The Balfour Declaration was addressed to my dear Lord Rothschild. And so, Zionism is not the problem itself. I would consider Zionism to be the sword in the hand of Uncle Sam, and it's the main weapon being used against us. But underneath that, Pasta is completely correct. In fact, Zionism is a British project, and it's part of the Anglo-American conspiracy, which really speaks to the very heart of our settler colonialism mentality in this country. And so until we deal with that, things aren't really going to change. And we are dealing with that, and things are changing. So I feel great. I love you all. I'm going to let somebody else talk now. Blessings to all of you there and all that are warmed at your fires from the Cherokee
Give us
Nation.
a yahoo on the way out, though. Give us a nice big yahoo.
What do you want?
Give us one of those Yonah screams.
Woo-hoo!
Yonah from
I love you guys.
Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. We were talking earlier in the show too, Colonel, about before Joanna called in, we talked about toxicity, and of course. And I see you recognize, I got family members like that I realize that I just need to stay away from. It's just no good coming out of it. But we did kind of make a point about extending olive branches, going through hard conversations. Me and Yonah had knocked heads at one time, and Yonah saw me at an event in Tennessee, came right up to me and talked to me. And, I just admire that so much. And that's the thing. Sometimes we're enemies and we hate people that maybe with one conversation, we can put that aside and we don't have to take things so serious. And at the end of the day, we can realize that we do have bigger fish to fry. The colonialism, the empire, all that shit right there is a lot more intense than maybe some words we said that we shouldn't have said to some people out there. So I'm glad that Yonah called in today, because he's a great example of turning a blind eye and saying, hell yeah, let's squash it and let's we had a tough conversation, and then we move on. And I think that's important, Colonel. We do have a couple more callers, but if you want anything to say real quickly, go right ahead.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the walk away or go silent or whatever, because what really develops courage in people, and that's what we need more of at every level of our population. The world needs more courage. Americans need more courage. And the way you get courage is, it's not like, I go get a big box of it, now I've got it. No, you build it over small experiences. And one of the best ways to do it is, just like you said, having hard conversations, listening to somebody, and occasionally something that we don't ever hear politicians doing, of course, because they don't have courage, but you have to say, hey, I'm rethinking this, or you know what, I was a little bit too hard on you. I made a mistake with that. I'm sorry. Hard to say I'm sorry, but there's 100 ways you can say I'm sorry, and that I was wrong, or that I didn't have the whole picture, and I appreciate you, even though I don't agree with you. All of these things are ways. This is how we develop courage. Courage isn't just about physical courage. In fact, physical courage is the least of courage. It is the mental courage, to go to a place where you're not certain of how you'll be received, when you might be wrong. You could be emotionally harmed, which these days emotional harm is just as bad as physical harm, but it's not. Emotional harm is not as bad as physical harm, because we have ways of dealing with that in our big, massive brains that we all walk around with on top of our shoulders. We have an ability to deal with these things. But if we don't practice dealing with them, we don't develop courage and spine and backbone. And that's what we need. And everybody needs that, because like we've been talking in the show, empire is real, it's dangerous, and it's collapsing. And it can be even more dangerous for us. So we're going to need to build up our courage. And we do this by talking to people, both those we agree with and those we don't agree with, and those we've harmed and those we have benefited. We have to talk to everybody. Yeah.
We're the hero in some lives and villains in the others, but let's find some courage. Remember that part, Gabrielle, so we can cut that out. Courage. We should probably cut that out. We've been talking about cutting up some videos and putting them out there. And if there's anybody in the chat that does any of that work that can cut up some videos for us to help us out, we're looking for help and volunteers, ways to grow the shows, those kind of things. Please give us a call, email us up, help us out, see what we can do. We have a full load on our plate. Thank you for those words there, Colonel. Let's get to the last caller. Do we still have that last caller, Sleepy?
Yep, they're waiting.
Let's do it, Colonel. Caller, where are you? Who are you, and where are you calling from?
It's Wesley again, and I shouldn't call so often, I know, but still,
yes,
there are so many good points that were just brought up. That for one, you got to look at Benjamin Disraeli, the Prime Minister of England, back in the 1700s or whatever. That was bought the Suez Canal and used Rothschild money. Like the Rothschilds loaned money to England. So there's that aspect. But there's also the real estate market, and the repeal of Glass-Steagall, and then the instant derivatives thing where they were doing that, and they got caught, and that was one bubble, which I think was planned. But then BlackRock is buying these properties now, but they're paying cash, so they don't have to pay insurance fees, and they don't have to pay, they're not taking out mortgages. Mm-hmm. And so how much are the banks invested in BlackRock and State Street, where you're, as a buyer, as a home buyer, you're paying a mortgage, and the bank is inflating the price of the value of your property by competing with you. They're invested in BlackRock, or you have this backdoor investment, and so you have they're basically inflating the market, I think, in that way, and leveraging their position pretty much. And I think it's totally planned. Yeah. And they're probably even using the bank or the property as it's wholesale, it's a product, and so we can market it as an expense and write off these other false dollars, these false digital dollars that we're making on the other side in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Is that a
possibility? Did you ever hear that thing, by the way, really quickly, and I'll hand it to you, Colonel. And guys, we got about 8 minutes left, so let's keep that in mind. But did you ever hear that? I think it was Gerald Celente who talked about it, about what percentage of BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own all the commodities and own the market itself. It's a big chunk of it. So if you're an investor, an American investor in the stock market, there's a good chance you're invested into all this.
Oh yeah,
craziness, this evilness. Please continue. And I don't want to call the people evil, blind trust and stuff right now. I'm looking up. My mom had a stroke. I'm looking after her portfolio and stuff right now. I'm not touching any of it. I'm just watching after it. But I know she didn't know the fine print of what these companies do and stuff. She was doing what every other American was doing, and was just investing her money wisely. Mm-hmm. Please continue, Colonel.
Well, I mean, I think what he's saying is right, and this kind of double dealing. I mean, we're seeing it talked about with AI, where the money is going from one AI company to another, and every time it hits a new company, it's like, an investment, and then it passes through that company, goes down, we've got a big positive thing, and so it's hard to understand it all. But I will say this: there's the inflationary, the stating of the high value of things that aren't really high value. Some of it's the devaluation of our currency, which obviously has been ongoing for a while, but it's also The local governments who tax property that's a big part of how they fund schools and everything else. They want assessments high as they can possibly get them. And I don't know if in our county, it's probably like this all over the country. They assess frequently. They have a limit on how often they can do it, but they can do it as frequently as possible when prices are rising. And then when prices start to drop, I don't know if they're doing that, but when they do, they will hold off assessments and charge you the higher rate until they're forced by law to do another assessment. And anyway, they love the sense of, oh, we have this much value property and we can tax at this high level on where I live, a lot of retired people who own their homes, so they have to write that check. They're old people. They live in a house that they probably bought, like one of the callers said, for not a lot of money, but now it's priced really high. So they have to pay these taxes. Local government depends on that kind of game. And then, of course, the banks and BlackRock and all the mutual investing that goes on, they depend on that too for their portfolios. And also, people complain that these big corporations don't pay taxes. And they don't pay taxes like we do. They do pay taxes. Their total take of taxes is high. But the rate of taxation seems small. But also, if you think about the way the business operates, they write off all of these things. So their investments, everything that they've purchased and all the things they're paying on, it's a big game that we're not involved in. It's like Carlin said, it's a big club and you're not in it. But that club operates a certain way. And it's really, if this was a sane world and people actually understood how the money system works, then we would put a stop to it. We wouldn't just wait for something exposed in the fraud region or something collapses, a bubble explodes, And like you said, Pasta, oftentimes these bubbles are planned to take out a competitor. They're planned to reset.
Exactly why they're doing them.
Yeah. So, but we should know better. But this is the system that we want to get out of. I think personally,
you don't have to wait for a toxic system. We're talking about toxicity, right? The system itself is toxic. We don't have to wait for more flames in a toxic system. The system itself should be destroyed, just like the voting system.
We need a walkaway movement from that corrupt system, and it is a corrupt system. And I get mad when they say it's capitalism, but I'm not gonna quibble
because that's very vague.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's very vague. I get what people are saying, and I hate that capitalism, socialism. Look, too much centralized control is bad, and that's the things that socialism and communism can bring. But also,
corporate capitalism is very centralized.
Capitalism,
that's right.
Which we have as crony capitalism. It turns into fascism, and the corporations are now running with the state that's together. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I love markets. I talk about this all the time. There's something beautiful that I witnessed in Nicaragua since the government had all these infrastructure projects that have now opened up other markets because goods and services are moving around and people could do more for their families. There's something beautiful about that I don't want to get away from, right? That I make a product, I have a product, you want it, I sell it to you. And I think of, obviously, in the terms of food and all that other stuff, but we are at the top of the hour. I'm going to give Wesley the last 60 seconds. Wesley, I think the theme of what you're trying to say is that we have a real messed up, rigged, toxic economic system here. But if you want to kind of make a statement on it, please do so. I'll give you the last 60 seconds.
There was a party at Jeff Bezos' DC mansion where all the hedge fund managers. This was January 26th, 2020. So it was 2 days after the Friday meeting with the White House and Congress as to like the effects of the upcoming COVID pandemic. And so all these people met at Bezos's house with people that were at that meeting, and they all the hedge fund managers and Bezos and Romney and Bain Capital and Bill Gates were all there, and they all 10x their income that year, right? Bezos went from like 7 billion to 70 billion and all that kind of stuff. It was totally insider trading. Well, Trump is like, oh, it's not going to be that bad, and totally talking it down on the front side. But everybody was totally changing their portfolios around, and they switched the toxic stocks onto, because these people own the different hedge funds, and so they moved the toxic stocks out of their portfolios. And where'd they put them? Oh, they gave them to the nurses and the 401ks of these other organizations, right? That are, that they basically robbed the cops and the nurses and the fire department That's what they did. What they did with their toxic shares, because they had to move them, and they didn't take the loss. Bezos liquidated $3.4 billion worth of his shares in his company for the short term, and with Bill Barr's okay from the DOJ, and that's how you make money in America these days. These people aren't actually as wealthy as they are. They're freaking criminals. So I'll leave you with that, and that's definitely something to check out. Look at those photos, look up that party, and they're all wearing their Knights of Malta garb and little emblems and everything. And it was a big money grab. Anyways, I'll leave you.
Reminds me of the party they had before the election when Obama showed up, and that was another party. Yeah, there's a lot of these things going on. Thank you so much, Wesley, for calling, and we got to wrap up the show. I do appreciate you, man. And don't be shy. Call in consecutive days. We love you. We love hearing from you, my man.
It's already hung up.
You already hung up. Colonel, where can people find you? What do you got going on? By the way, we didn't even get to talk about the CIA's visit to the Kremlin.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We'll have to say that.
I mean, you're gonna be you held that desk at the Pentagon, so you're gonna be talking about that all week. You get to come over here and talk about life, love, food, and happiness on Drive Time. Go save the wartime stuff for the other shows, and you could explain why the CIA showed up in Moscow. That is there's a lot of theories. You should talk to Don DeBar about that. I bet you guys can chit chat till the cows come home. Go ahead, Colonel.
Yeah, no, this has been great talking to you this morning, and good stuff. And I love it. I love it. We have to talk about these things, and it's actually, it's eye-opening for me, and I think it's helpful. This is how you fight back, and you're doing it, Pasta. I don't care if they are trying to defund you and all this other stuff. You're not giving up. We don't give up.
No, not gonna. And I won't. And go check her out on Judge Knapp. Go check out her writing. You have been talking about somebody else you do a show with. Somebody, I think he used to work for Mario. It does work for Mario.
Yeah, it works for Mario.
You got to connect us.
Brandon Weichert. Yeah, Brandon Weichert. And he writes a lot for 1945. He's a defense guy. He does a lot of stuff like that, but he's really fun to talk to. So I get to talk to him a couple times.
Bring him to the show one day.
Yeah, I'll do
show and tell day. We'll bring.
Show and tell.
Show and tell day.
Yeah.
Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski, ladies and gentlemen, go check out her work. She'll be back. Is next Wednesday is when you'll be with us next Wednesday. It's the Wednesday after that, right?
Yeah. I won't be there the 9th, I think.
Yeah. I already asked your good friend Tiffany Cianci, the libertarian. I asked her to fill in, and she said it would be a pleasure to stand in for the Colonel. Those are big boots to fill. She ain't going to try, but she'll show up, she said. Yeah. Thank you, Colonel. All right, let's wrap this puppy up, guys. I want to thank everybody else, of course, in the chat all day. It was very lively. I saw you all out there. Bob from Atlantis, call on in tomorrow. We need to have a conversation. I saw you in the chat, too. Thank you, Lady Alex, for starting off the show today. Well, it was actually Joanna. We had woman power over here, ladies and gentlemen. Joanna from O-Town, Lady Alex from New Mexico. Then we had a nice little run. We had Roger from New Jersey, who's going to probably call in on my show today, 4 p.m. Eastern, WBAI. You can go to WBAI.org, and you can listen in live. Yoo-hoo! Yona from West Virginia called in, and Wesley from Florida closed out the show. I want to thank Gabrielle Freedom, our executive producer, in the chat, too, doing things, letting you know how you can help out the show, how you can help out independent media. Every single penny helps, guys. So if you can do it, please do so. And, of course, my good friend and trusted one, the man on the ones and twos, the Technique 1200s. We love him. Josh, he is probably on his second Mountain Dew of the day. Look, as we wrap up.
It's a big one.
It's just one giant one. As we wrap up today's show, we're gonna have to find the substitution to see if we can move.
Yeah, I like Dr. Pepper too.
That's not a substitution. That's a parallel move. We gotta get. They got this thing called rotten candy now. It's like half the sugar, 56% less sugar, whatnot, and probiotics. So it's like you don't feel as guilty. You're having some sugar, but you're having a lot less, and it's a lot healthier. Maybe we can find something like that for Mountain Dew. I'm not going to take it away. I'm just suggesting it, but I'm going to ease off. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, let's keep that dialogue flowing and the peace growing. I'm going to be at WBAI at 4 p.m. Eastern today. You can go to WBAI.org. It's a call-in show over there. It's Greater New York. I love my peeps over there, but I love you too as well. Thank you, Drive Time in the Morning. Tomorrow we will be back with the big ragu himself, Kyle Anzalone. So until then, I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow, and peace.